Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Let's go ahead and get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentleman Fan Project Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
The real Manos. Hello, folks.
Hello, folks, indeed. So, yet again, just for the sake of variety, trying to get away from fan films just every so often when I can. And so today we're reviewing Spidey Zine, a fan comic series. And I am always afraid when I pronounce these people's names. It's one of the downfalls of comics. You have no context for the name. These are some fan comics drawn and written by Hannah Blumenreich. It's hard to tell.
Blumenreich?
Blumenreich, yeah, I don't know.
Blumenreich?
Blumenreich. Yeah, I don't know. Names are difficult when it comes to comics.
Rockstein?
Yeah. Because all you have to go off of is just your ability to read it, and if it's like based in a language you don't know, then you don't have any of the context for how to say it. It's a pain in the ass. Anyway, so we're reviewing comics by Hannah, whatever we're gonna end up referring to this artist as. So this is interesting for me. The reason I picked this is I saw the 4 pages of this comic, the scene with where he walks the girl home, just randomly popped up in my Twitter feed a couple months back. I'm like, oh, that's really cool, but unfortunately, it's not long enough to do an episode out of. And then the artist, her Twitter account actually came up, and she's like, hey, so everyone's been kind of reposting these, and I just want them attached to my account. So here's a couple of them, and you can go read them on my website. And so there's 24 pages of comics to talk about, a bunch of little short scenes with Spidey, and I thought, we can totally do an episode on that. And so it's just, we've talked about how fan comics, particularly for American comics, are just exceptionally rare. We've done a couple fan comics that have mostly been Dragon Ball manga stuff, so this is just a cool opportunity, and I really wanted to jump all over it. So I'm really curious what you thought of just the overall collection, Manos.
I loved them. This reminds me of what Marvel is currently doing right now with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, where we are taking a more toned down approach and a more human approach with Spider-Man, really kind of living up to that name of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and using that concept of the everyman, in Spidey. And boy, it reminds me of all that kind of stuff. And they're really, overall, I found these stories really sweet and funny, and she has a good voice for Spider-Man and Mary Jane and Aunt May especially. And I was very impressed by these.
Yeah, it's really interesting because just based on the little I could glean from her post on Twitter about this, she kind of did some of these at least as just kind of a learning process. She mentioned that she has trouble looking at some of them because she was just figuring out how to do digital coloring and stuff. And so it's really interesting as you go through them, the first couple, or the first image that's in black and white, and the first kind of blue grayscale thing with Mary Jane is it's, I don't feel it's rough to say that it's rough. It's rough around the edges. It's clearly someone, developing some signatures, some talent, either just working in comics, working in illustration, or working in a digital medium. And it's crazy to like kind of flip through them and just see how the quality improves and improves and improves and gets better and better. And it kind of actually has little dips and dives, so I'm pretty sure these aren't in chronological order if I had to guess, but I really don't have enough information to tell that. But like some of them, just the quality seems to go up and up, and that's really cool. That this is one of those things that I think fan projects are just really, really good for, is this opportunity for someone to, you know, develop skills in a thing and get better and better at it, and do so in a way that kind of gets them some exposure, some attention, without having to like start off a big personal project and be expected to follow that up or something like that.
Yeah, I would agree. A lot of fans, and you know, I'm not that much different. Like, think big, and you know, big arcs and epic stories, and I really like the fact that she went in the opposite direction and kind of used the medium to kind of like essentially, yeah, like you said, kind of figure things out and not go too huge, and you know, go small, and develop, and use that in universe, in the stories that she was writing. I mean, that's just a really clever way of kind of like working on it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it goes to something I talk about with fan projects all the time. Like, fans often will start a thing and they have this really big, ambitious end goal in mind, and then they don't ever really get to finish it. Whereas these are these nice, sweet, standalone little moments that if she never makes another one, that's okay, because you still have these. These aren't dependent on something else to be paid off on in the future. There's these little, like, almost like character study kind of moments that give you this really good insight into Peter Parker, into Spider-Man, into the what he does day to day. And I really, really like that.
And, you know, thankfully this is all kind of like, you know, the Spidey zine and the Spider short, you know, make up an entire issue, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's, you know, this could be a fill-in issue of the current Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. You know, or an annual.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes Marvel in the last few years have done kind of more indie-looking art on some of their books. And, I mean, I could totally see this in that kind of, like, vein. Especially if she kind of went back. I could see, like, the advanced pages, the further along, you could see where she's going artistically. So, you know, most likely she would probably, you know, prefer to, like, go back and you do these, like, the basketball scene, for instance. Looks fantastic. You know, I can see her doing the whole thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, she really kind of went about it with a good head on her shoulders as far as what she wanted to do, and it's just, I'm really marveling over it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just so impressed by this. It's so cool because it does so much with fan projects that they're so good at. It shows a side of the character because, as you mentioned, this could be like the annual of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or something, but I don't necessarily know that Marvel would really want to put this out as is, or if they did, it'd be like, you know, really kind of in a special circumstance that they'd put out a book that's just these like short little sweet moments, because for whatever reason American comics don't see these kind of stories as inherently marketable, and like, oh, that'll be cute and fun for like a backup or something, but we can't have it as a full issue. And so it's doing something, it's giving us an insight, a side of the character that we normally wouldn't get in official media. That's fantastic. And it's being used to hone skill. And something I found that was really cool is while I was looking into this, trying to do some just really cursory research about it, see if she had any more that like weren't posted on the website or anything. These got her noticed by Marvel, and she did a backup for an issue of Spider-Man.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's Amazing Spider-Man number 25 from the Dan Slott 2015 series, because we have to clarify that with Marvel issue numbering.
I know. Wait, they're only up to 14. What are you talking about, issue 25?
Right.
They're not there yet.
Right. Yeah, so in issue 25, she wrote a story, a backup called Much Ado About Nothing, and it's so crazy to look through it because she goes with the exact same design for Peter Parker, like with the kind of lighter hair and like the freckles and stuff. And it's just this multiple page story that feels like it fits in so well with these little shorts, and it's just absolutely, it feels like a perfect continuation upon that. Right. So it's really cool to just see how this kind of developed into its own thing, and got her some attention. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to seek that out now because I was not reading Spider-Man during that period, so now I'm going to go back. I've actually been contemplating going back and buying some of the Dan Slott stuff. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm reading Spider-Man again, I've been thinking about since Spider Island. So I would definitely seek this issue out that has her work in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah, I'd love for her to come back.
Yeah. So let's go into some of the stories themselves. Did you have a favorite? Like there really are almost 8 stories here, I guess you could call it, because some of them are just a page or a moment or something. Did you have a favorite story in this?
Oh boy, I guess it would have to be the Walking the Girl Home Alone story. Jeez, the premise is really. It's really cool, and it's a premise I never thought of with a superhero, and it's a superhero, protecting, kind of done really well. It's kind of funny. I like the interaction between him and the woman. I like when she first sees him. She goes, "Are you the real Spider-Man or a guy in a costume?"
Real.
He says, "Real, real." And it's really believable. It's anybody can put that costume on. They have that great bit of dialogue, and he's talking about all these kind of things, and it ends really simply, and then he goes back to essentially kick their asses. Mm-hmm. Man, that's really cool. I also really liked. I mean, there's so many great ones. All the stuff with Aunt May is great. Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is the basketball one. It's so good. One thing that I noticed about her is her design for Spider-Man is very Ditko, but taking the creepy and turning it just a little bit back, turning the dial of creepy just a little bit back, so it's got this funny awkwardness to it. And I noticed it kind of throughout all of her drawings. Everything she does with Spider-Man's hands is just a little weird and kind of funny. And so the basketball one has my favorite, where he's actually I'm not that great at sports, so, and he's got his fingers together in this weird little way, and it just looks so strange and kind of perfectly fits the look of Spidey. And then you can just kind of go through it, and a lot of the images have these really great Spider-Man hands where he's always doing something. Like you mentioned the one with the walking girl home, and when she says goodbye to him at the door, and there's just this one little panel of him, and he's got his hand kind of half up like a wave or something, and you just didn't quite know what to do with his hand. It's just I don't know, I relate to that a lot, because if you watch my videos, I always got to be holding something in my hands or doing something, because I don't know, it's just a tick I have. So just I immediately got drawn to that and thought it was so cool, just that it's this little subtle character detail that's expressing itself solely through the art. No one ever draws attention to it as far as dialogue or anything goes. It's just really present, and I think it's so perfectly kind of embodies how it's still the awkward teenage Peter Parker, just in this weird situation. playing basketball, and I don't know, that was so fun to me.
And also, it's awkward and expressive. Like, you're right, it does kind of inform the character, where, like, say, Daredevil or Batman wouldn't be acting like that. Man, I love those shots of the way he's swinging around in the basketball scene. Like, it looks real believable as far as the neighborhood. The way it's all shot and framed, with him, like, in the background. I love the way it's brought in. Like, you know, the first woman, like, sees it and just freezes. Because that's got to be something that happens in, you know, the Marvel New York or any superhero city. Like, oh, hey, it's that guy.
Yeah, totally.
You know, he's here.
Absolutely. You know, it reminds me a lot of that great shot, or that great panel from Marvels where, like, Spider-Man's just crawling on the window of the Daily Bugle and everyone's looking out the window at him. And it's like this kind of weird, awkward thing. And it's just, that's what life in the Marvel Universe is. It's all just happening right outside the window of a building in New York.
Yeah, Bendis used to do that sometimes, especially when he first started at Marvel. He would try to emulate that. Like, he would try to, like, bring that idea of everyday living in Marvel New York, and, you know, the kind of weird everyday occurrences that maybe the random fan wouldn't really think about until you really kind of, like, you know, kind of start getting into that universe and stuff like that. A lot of that feels like that. This also reminded me of an old Spidey story, where I can't remember if it was Peter David who wrote it, but there is a Spider-Man story where he is swinging around and he sees these kids playing football, and they ask him to play with them. And, like, they come up with a whole bunch of different rules, you know, to make it somewhat fair. And it has this huge backstory that really isn't necessary. I'm happy to see, like, this story kind of cut out any kind of, you know, weird, like, stakes or anything like that the one I'm thinking of had. But yeah, it reminded me of that kind of thing. Like, you know, hey, you know, I'm bored. People like me. Let me play around.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, also kind of that energy is there in the Spider-Man short. The what, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Yeah. That one I was really impressed by, because it just kind of shows, like, Peter Parker as this, you know, awkward teenager kind of thing, and then that all goes away when he puts on the suit, and you just, like, the 3 to 4 panels of him just hanging out in New York, you know, playing chess in the park, getting a selfie, hanging out with a homeless guy. Like, all that is so perfect, and you can just tell he just spends his day waiting to do that. It's just fantastic. I really, really like how that all plays and it comes together. Let me ask you this. Was there one in here that didn't really work for you? Or you just felt, okay, this just kind of feels like the joke never landed or something?
Nope, none.
Really?
Nothing fails for me.
Okay.
Did you have anything that kind of didn't strike you?
The Mary Jane comic just didn't really work for me. It felt like, you know, and obviously these are her own things, so she can do whatever she wants with it. But it felt so tonally different than everything else that I just didn't really get the same kind of enjoyment out of it. It felt so wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the audience, as opposed to, like, something that felt really Spider-Man to me. And if I had to try to put in words exactly why I didn't think it worked, you know, like, face it, Tiger, you hit the jackpot. Haha, no, dear, not me. Like, I get a laugh out of it, but at the same time, it's a different kind of laugh, so it just felt tonally odd. But I mean, this obviously isn't conceived as, like, its own complete thing and as like a single piece. These are obviously just, you know, sporadic little things. that are meant to be just take each one completely on its own.
I thought it was really cute, kind of taking the piss out of one of those like iconic moments, like the idea that Mary Jane practiced it is kind of funny now that I think about it. Like, yeah, I mean, in the original, comic, like, she's like really full of herself. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm hot and you're lucky to even be going out with me. Oh, and she has that line all set. Like, I like the idea that she had it prepared and like she said it a little too early. And I don't know. I think that's kind of funny. It is totally different than the rest of the material, because the material could seriously be straight up like backup stories or expanded into issues for literally the regular Spider-Man comic. This one feels a little bit more parody than you would see in a fan comic. Although I don't know. I mean, I've seen Marvel and DC like publish little jokey things like this before. So I don't think it's that far from the imagination.
No, not at all. It just like of all the stuff that we got, even the one before it where he's singing the Bilbo Baggins song, that still feels very in line with this Peter Parker to me. It's just the joys of web slinging. That felt very in line. This one just like it's its own thing entirely from all the other stuff, and so it just felt a little weird and off to me and didn't land in the same way.
Let's see, it is totally different. It strikes me that she was kind of putting these together as she was going on.
Oh, definitely.
And this one was like more jokey, and the more she got into it, the more grounded I think the rest of the material gets. So I guess this stands out, but I don't care because I really like it. So
that's fair.
And it's not too off the beaten path to not fit in with the others. I do want to talk about. I guess there's a lot of Aunt May in this, and she has a really good voice for her. I am a big fan of Aunt May being in on Peter being Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's one of those things where when they eventually decided to go in on that, I thought, oh my God, this, when JMS started doing that, he's the one who introduced that. And after he did that, it was one of those things after a few issues, it was like, why didn't we always have this? This actually works really well, her being part of it. And I like how kind of supportive and thoughtful she is in this. I really enjoyed the whole bit with Peter growing up and showing kind of that montage of raising him. Think of Aunt May as his mom. I know some people kind of don't, which to me is weird that you wouldn't occur to that. But yeah, I mean, the relationship feels really, I don't know, especially on the last page where he climbs on the couch with her. I mean, that feels really real.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of, to be honest, that page did choke me up a little bit.
Oh, I mean, definitely. Like, the whole sequence of seeing Peter grow up with Ben and May, and then just those 3 panels of her alone in the kitchen at night, and then you get the next page, and it's, clearly Peter coming home from when Ben was killed. That is really, really emotional, and it's... it's the talent of the writer-artist combo that you have so much emotion delivered in the scene without a word of dialogue. It's absolutely fantastic because I really love the middle sequence of the third page of that, where at first, the emotion on May's face is very worried, and then Peter hugs her, and you see that she... In the final panel, you've got this sense of realization and of needing to be there for Peter, or more of them there for each other at that point. It's really, really good. Actually, taking that page and the final page, I think I might commit to her being there for Peter, because it works really well if you parallel that with the final page of Peter coming back to be there for her. I think that is just, it's expertly done. It's no question as to why she's gone on to do work for Marvel with Peter Parker and Aunt May, because the way she's able to communicate the relationship and stuff, it's just so, it's expert. It's at a professional level.
Yeah.
That's really, really impressive.
It's absolutely beautiful. Like, she doesn't worry too much about, like we've already talked about, not worry about creating epic stories. Instead, she's kind of creating those character moments in these little vignettes, and they all work.
And then you just get like cool things, like you mentioned the Aunt May being in on it, and that's something I can kind of like take or leave personally. I really like it here though, where she just hands him a sweater. It's like, go out, you're gonna catch cold out there. It's like, but Aunt May, my look. And then you get the image, and holy shit, now I want Spider-Man in a sweater so badly in mainline comics because it looks so cool. I always talk about Spider-Man in a hoodie always looks really cool. I guess you don't even need the hood now. The sweater just makes it work too.
It's so the legit. Venom design. It's the black suit design as a sweater. That's really funny. Yeah,
it's so cool. Just that's got like a look to it, and it really, really works. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to be. I always try to like be critical in a way that can like help, or like, hey, maybe they didn't think of this. And I'm trying to like find stuff that I can say, oh, well, this, even though all this is really good, like this thing could use maybe a little more work. And I'm really feeling like if I'm trying to do that too much, I'm just going to be nitpicking, because all I'm left with is I kind of am disappointed that he doesn't have the webbing on the costume. But you don't need it like 90% of the time. It makes it look too busy, and it doesn't complement her art style as well here. It is interesting to note that when she does the Amazing Spider-Man issue, we see Peter in costume, he does have the webbing back on, so the skill got better. She got better at, I guess, incorporating that level of detail. But really, you just look at it and it's not necessary.
It isn't, and it's a cheat I've seen artists do before. And I as a fan have like long forgiven when I don't see it on him. It does make me like think back, like when they were going to make the commitment to the black suit. I could see why they wanted to do that. Like, not have every artist draw all that friggin' webbing on. It's a more simplified design, so I can see why. I'm sure a lot of artists, since Todd McFarlane has cursed his name for bringing it back, it's like, damn you! We were going to do a generation of simple designs.
Yeah, I mean, we had the FF suit for like what, a whole 2 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the white and black one.
Yeah, that was the best.
That was a nice design.
Yeah. Spider-Man's one of those things where like the red and blue is really iconic, but you can change up the color scheme and it looks really cool.
And let's see, Eric Larson did a cheat too, for a little bit. On several issues, he replaced the blue on the costume with black. And it looked, I've always thought it looked really good. It actually simplified the look a little bit more. It was simply, the costume was just simply red and black. That's it. No blue parts.
Nice.
And it surprisingly works. And I feel like I'm the only one who ever noticed it. I've heard him talk about it briefly, like he was experimenting with the look. But I don't know, just no one ever talks about it. And but I thought that was a really cool, simple idea.
Nice.
So I'm kind of used to that thing. I kind of chalk that up to interpretation, so I never really get really bitchy about it.
Okay. The only other thing I really want to talk about is the cover image, because I'm just kind of, I think you and I have both been doing it. Sorry if you could hear us, folks. Just clicking through the comic, like, oh, we can talk about this, we can talk about this. And I got to the cover, and it made me think of a thing, because you mentioned Todd McFarlane. So everyone remembers that really famous Todd McFarlane image of Spider-Man where he's like hanging out in the web and he's got like spiders crawling all over him and all over
I have
the
a
web.
poster.
Yeah, I love that image and I think everyone does, but it's like quintessential 90s stupid because just because Spider-Man's Spider-Man does not mean he's cool with spiders crawling all over him because he's still a person and no one should ever be okay with that.
Yeah, he's not Aquaman with spiders.
Yeah, exactly. And so like just looking at this cover where like he looks kind of like scared of this spider underneath him. He's like, it just like that's the sound effect I have in mind. It's like the perfect anti Todd McFarlane thing.
Yeah, it's a. I hadn't thought about that because it is a yellow background. I wonder if that was what she was doing.
I don't know. It might be completely unintentional. Like it's capturing those emotions of like clearly he's afraid of the spider here. So we're seeing kind of like a softer, lighter Spider-Man, cuter Spider-Man. But it so works as like a juxtaposition of that. You could almost like, Manos, you could get this image printed out or something and put it next to your McFarlane poster. They'd be perfect.
That would be a great poster. I would get that as a t-shirt.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be a great t-shirt.
Yeah.
I'd wear that at conventions.
Oh, that'd be neat. Yeah.
If there's a t-shirt of this, I will get it, like now. So, also one of the things when I first saw this was it reminded me, I don't know if you're familiar with the new Lauren Faust DC Superhero Girls cartoon she's working on.
The one where they've changed the designs for the characters and stuff, correct?
Yeah. It's more her style, and they've been promoting it with shorts. And one short is one of Batgirl in her room, and a bat gets trapped in her bedroom, and she freaks out, and she runs all around trying to throw stuff and get it out. That's kind of one of the things also it reminded me of, like a hero being afraid of its actual namesake.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny.
Nice. Yeah, overall, I'm really impressed with this. It's a really cool little thing, and I'm really happy to see that someone who's making some stuff just as a fan on the side. I really feel like these were made for practice or just as like a quick little idea and not really made with any kind of pretense in mind, and to see that got someone into official stuff is just really, really cool.
Yes.
And I really, really appreciate that about this. So you want to go ahead and go on to ratings then?
Oh, sure. You know it. I'm going to... I really thoroughly enjoyed this as a Spider-Man fan, and I've been remarking, like, man, things have been really... It's been a really good year for Spider-Man, especially me. I've gotten back into the thing, and this was just a nice little kind of, I don't know, gift. Frankly, I absolutely love that the characterization is great. The art style is fun. I like the whole vignette kind of like format she was doing on this, even though it may have came out of just happenstance or whatever the case. I absolutely loved it. I would give this easily 5 out of 5 Venom sweaters.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely the same for me. This really does just blow me away. The 4 pages of walking the girl home was a great introduction to it, and just the second I realized there was more, I was like, oh yeah, we've got to talk about this on the show now. So I'm gonna also give this 5 out of 5 basketball courts. Yeah, just so much going on here. There's like good stuff we didn't even talk about, like the way the way that the paneling works for the pacing of when he enters the basketball court was something I wanted to mention too. Is just like that's so perfect, and then it all gets diffused with him asking which team he's on. I love it. Anyway, so that will do it for this review. Manos, what will we be talking about next week?
Okay, we are going to stay put in Marvel for the time being with a new fan film that I've discovered. It is called Moon Knight, a Marvel fan film.
Oh, cool. Alrighty. All right, everyone. Make sure to check that out next week. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.